Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's time for the podcaster who is here. I'm sitting I'm sitting in a chair. I'm leaning in. I'm cupping both my elbows. My left hand is holding my right elbow, and my right hand is holding my left elbow. And why? I don't know. It's comforting right now. It enables me to put lean forward right into the mic. Keep you company. I wish I had something silly to say about it, but it's so so I just switched my position. So now I have the old half elbow. So now my index finger and my thumb are holding on to the middle of my elbow, either side of my elbow. Thanks, descriptive brain. So now they're cupping the end of my forearms near my elbow. That's the kind of details that make up a sleep podcast. If you're confused, usually they're a little bit sillier and less straight details. But oh boy, talk about inane. That's what this podcast is all about. You put your right elbow in your left hand's palm, and then you move it to the forearm at the end of the thing. And then you make a sleep podcast about it, and that's what it's all about. Welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep, to be your friend in the deep, dark night. Your bore friend. I'm here just to keep you company while you drift off because you deserve a good night's sleep. This show is not for everybody, but please give it a few tries. That's what most listeners have said. Hey, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to. The show's pretty different. But I'm so glad you're here. I really hope I can help because I've been there. Tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep, dreading bedtime. Now, structurally, what we got coming up, support, that's how the show comes out. Free choice week, then there'll be a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime. And then there'll be, a bedtime story. Don't even know what the bedtime story will be about yet. That's exciting for me, but for you, you say, yeah, it's obviously not that important. Like, I could sleep through it, or I could listen to it, or I could kind of do something in between. So welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And these are the ways I'm able to do it for you for free twice a week. All right, everybody, Scoots here. You kind of heard me talking about the intro, but I guess while I was making the intro, I didn't realize that the tale, I had an untold tale that I had forgotten about that we could tell related to the intro, which I vaguely remember I guess I could check. I did leave a voicemail for myself, I voice messaged myself. Let's see if I can find it. I'm going to listen to it. It's only 6 seconds long. I'll cut it out and then I'll be back. All right. So I said tomorrow's episode could be pretend air guitarist or air guitarist tribute band. But of course, then I remembered, the one thing that I always forget, which are untold tales, truly forgettable tales. There you go. This is a new ongoing series that's been ongoing. Never very little seriality. What did I say? Truly forgettable tales. Can somebody please remind me of that? Maybe I'll send myself another voicemail. And then, so those of you that have been able to see the Purple Peoples Circus, which is, not many of you, but every once in a while, truly forgettable tales come up of how people have joined this amazing circus, associated, I don't know if they probably have appeared in the U.S., but not that I know of. It's a circus, it's in the one circus. Well, many circuses elude me, but this is an elusive one. This is the Purple Peoples Circus. It's one elusive circus, not a metaphor. It's an actual circus. That's very elusive. That's why. So don't feel bad if you've never seen it before, but maybe you've slept through how they've met people And maybe like me, even though I didn't sleep through it, I was here, and then I listened to episodes and mixed the episodes and converted the episodes. And but I don't even, like, I know that the last two episodes that I remember making were how they got the moose, the juggling moose. It was like a moose and a best friend, kind of like Pillow Pet, I think, like a Stuffy. The moose and the Stuffy, the juggling Stuffy moose or something, but it was a real moose. And then I think they have a break dancer. And before, other than that, I just remember, like, I can just picture the founders of the Purple Peoples Circus. But this is backstory. So once upon a time, there was an air guitarist, and they, like, had a great love of air guitar. And, you know, this was before the glory days. I don't think we're in the glory days of air guitar anymore. I think right now we're in the glory days of dancing and lip syncing to stuff, from like where you do it from a waist up shot. But maybe even those are waning. And I'm sure there's people waiting in the wings to come back and say, oh boy, am I going to bring air guitar back? And I don't know if it's the aughts or the tens, or I mean, I think there was a documentary about it. There used to be big air guitar competitions, or it could have been a dream or an assumption I made. And I don't know, maybe one of the late night shows even had it. They said, yeah, we're just going to do air guitar, man. This is interesting not that I'm an anthropologist, because clearly, like, you wouldn't confuse me with, you'd say Scooter's like anthropology adjacent, meaning he uses the word anthropology. He does speculative anthropology, speculative fictional speculative. Oh yeah, I'm writing some spec fic, man. Oh yeah, what are you working at? Well, speculative fictional anthropology. Oh wow. So which genre? Oh, well, I was just wondering, I kind of forgot. I was trying to make a metaphor, then I forgot what I was talking about. No, but I was wondering, I don't actually have the wherewithal to do it, but I'm just wondering if the great air guitar, I don't know I think it was the first, I don't know if there was a renaissance, because I think it was just the high point of air guitar. Was it before Guitar Hero or after? I have literally no idea. And Guitar Hero is interesting to me because it shows, not to go off topic early, but how so let me set this up for everybody and define these words, because, you know, not everybody's coming from the same place. And also when I'm using words, you know, of course I'm using my words, which may be different to other people. So as far as I know, air guitar is when someone's listening to music and they're pretending they're playing a guitar made out of the air. And I would say there's probably a few different ways to do air guitar. One, there's technical air guitarists, maybe. It's different than lip syncing in the fact that you're not making any noise, though occasionally people will make noise. But I think that's more of like a limbic noise, like our friend Antonio causes people to make, where they say, oh boy. What is that? Look at that profile. Whoa, look at the way that person carries himself. Antonio Banderas, that's my normal reaction. And most people's, not that he's not part of this episode, but his influence is always felt, even limbically. But there's some people that play air guitar with a flourish, and I wouldn't say that maybe there is an unlimited. I don't think there's an unlimited way to play air guitar, but there's a lot of different takes you could do on it, like dramatic. I guess you could it probably wouldn't be great for a long time, but someone, you know, I'm just playing folk air guitar, man, just strumming along. They say that sounds like an episode of Sleep, and I say it's not quite interesting enough to be a Sleep With Me episode. But that's a take on it. So that's what air guitar is, pretending to play the guitar, electric guitar. The majority of air guitar is electric guitar. So that's one thing you'd say. What are you playing? Acoustic air guitar? They say, or air, you can do anything, but it's just electric air guitar. I mean, I don't know. A lot of NBA players have been doing what I would say air piano. Kevon Looney I just saw, but I've seen other players do it too. But also I wasn't at the stadium and it was on mute. So it may have been, well, I guess that's still air guitar. You can play air guitar with music in your head or music being played out loud. And I'm sure there's an Air Guitar Society of America that would say, once again, or, the global air guitarists, they'd say, please don't mention air guitar. Stick to your knocks and your hobbies. And I'd say you're probably right, because I went down once upon a time, way before the podcast, back when I was, my budget was very small. But my need, every once in a while I had a need for, machinery and hardware and software and this is just, and this kind of is, we'll talk about stuff of like, when you can't sleep, I would thought if I could get like the right computer and figure it out that everything would be okay. Really. I mean, I don't know if that connection was crystal clear in my mind. But on some level it was. And I thought to myself, and I was like, this was pre-podcast days, not even making podcasts, the podcast existing. But I remember I was into RSS, so I'd just read, I don't know if I was using Google Reader first or something else, but, so I'd just be consuming different tech news and other things, that was like, one of my pastimes. Also, I thought that would fix me. If I consumed enough information, then I'd be just fine. And at some point I said, well, what's going to fix things is me getting one of these Mac Minis and then replacing and then hooking up to the TV as a monitor. And then, then it'll be the hub of our household. And oh boy, is that going to be good for everybody involved. And don't worry about about all the other things going on in our lives or my life or the way my actions are. Like, I'm going to get this Mac Mini. And oh boy, is it going to be great. And turns out it didn't work that way, but I did get the Mac Mini. I got a refurb. That's kind of what I do, or especially back then. So I was watching, and then I said, oh boy, this is a nice specs on this refurb Mac Mini. And so that helped me justify that I was getting significant savings. And eventually the Mac Mini came, and I unpacked it, got it set up. And then at some other point, and I guess I still don't understand quite what went wrong. At some other point, I saw a sale. Now, maybe this is where it went wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a sale like on a Guitar Hero guitar in the game, which still came on like the disc. I guess the DVD-ROM probably it was back then. And that it was for the Xbox or the Xbox 360 maybe, but it came with a USB plug. And then I said to myself, oh boy, is this going to fix things? Because the living situation was, it didn't have my daughter. Not sure if I was married or I just had like I was living with my future wife, now ex-wife, and my brother was living with us. And I'm pretty sure that was the living situation. And I said, what's going to like totally bring joy to this household is not just this Mac Mini, which hasn't quite brought joy to it yet, but don't worry, my fingers are still crossed. That if I, then this Guitar Hero, and I mean, I know we've all been there. I was like, oh, just picture the nights, all three of us taking turns on Guitar Hero, and the joy it's going to bring. And so I don't know, and again, I got that was another deal. It was not refurbished, but, I guess it was a package deal. It came with a guitar. And maybe I gave it as excuse my behavior by giving it as a gift to my brother or my wife, I think, at the time, or future wife. Yeah, no, we were married. I was like, oh, that'll be, so that'll make it okay. Not that any of this isn't okay. Like, guitar, like, just in the context of, just where my mind is wandering to. But what happened, there was a little wrinkle in there. But this is like a 10-minute, but really, that's not really going anywhere interesting. So I don't even, but I would talk about Sleepy. So then, I mean, well, one thing, the anticipation was real. I was like, I can't wait to get behind this Guitar Hero and get it. Oh, Guitar Hero. I forgot I was defining things. So Guitar Hero, and then I think it was Band Hero or like something like that, like is a game that now you can play on your phone, or you play, it did become popular again in VR. I think, like, I remember playing it at my sister's house, something similar, where you were, like, more hitting notes, like, but basically, it was like a game where you would pretend to play guitar, and you would press buttons on this guitar controller that looked like an electric guitar. It had 4 different buttons and then a thumb, like a strumming button. And you would, like, there would be obviously an avatar on the screen, and they would be famous, you know, semi-famous, or and obviously this was like early days of, then you can buy other downloadable add-ons or future editions with more songs, which I probably did before I even got the game working. But I, of course, like, this was was this my first Mac? It may have been also part of my excitement. So, even though it wasn't going to be my main computer, because I said, this is it. Like I really thought, like, this is going to, like, this is well before streaming or anything. But, you know, I thought, oh, this would be a music hub and, you know, whatever. That's just what I thought. Gaming and all that. So what happened? Okay, well, so Guitar Hero is a game, a video game, or I'm sure it still exists, but there's other versions now, like Dance, you know, why don't they call it Dance Hero? Maybe they do. There's Dance Dance Revolution. That's better in the arcade, though you could buy a pad for it. But Guitar Hero was cool because the controller was pretty decent. And the other thing was I had this controller until, like, I moved to this place when I was getting ready to move to my current place. So 2018. So this had to be in the aughts when I did this. And it had to be in the early, like, somewhere before, whatever, it was in the aughts. Guitar Hero is a game, basically a button mashing game, but you're mashing more than one button. Sometimes you got to mash 2 or 3 at once, depending on the difficulty level. Hold a button. And it seemed like it looked really fun. But what happened was, I booted this thing up, I'm sure when the other 2 of them were at work, and I was like, oh boy, I'm going to be working from home today really hard. And fixing you know, don't worry, when you 2 get home, everything will be fixed. And so I boot up this game, and there's a lag. And to this day, I was never able to figure out the lag, because it was some sort of strange lag. What do I mean when I say lag? Like, typically lag is like when you easily seen when you're watching some sort of video and then you're listening to the audio and it falls out of sync and one is lagging behind the other. Either you're hearing the dialogue first and the video's catching up, or the video's ahead and the dialogue's behind. And so for Guitar Hero, I can't remember what the lag was, to be honest with you, but it was like, it was bizarre. Like, so I don't think it was the music, because I guess it was the button mashing lined up with the music with what I was seeing on screen. So it took a game I'd never played, like, it pretty much made it almost impossible. But of course I was not willing to, admit defeat, right? So I was like, I can't remember which song. but take it easy. But that's the song. It wasn't Lowrider, but it was a song that was in the movie Dazed and Confused. But I don't remember Slow Ride. That's different than Lowrider. So that was the song because it's burned in my brain now that I brought it up. And I kept at it, not just that day, but I said, well, I'm going to have to put work on hold. I was working for myself at the time. I said, well, I better put all work on hold and, figure out this one, if I can eventually. Also, I think other levels and songs were locked maybe, but also everything else was way more complex than this song at the easiest level, which I could not overcome because of this strange lag. Now, at the same time, I said, okay, I broke it, my time. I said, okay, I'm also going to look at, what's the problem here? The internet. I mean, so I said, okay, let me get Google and, search some forums and get to the bottom of this lag. And looking back at it now, I can almost guarantee the lag was like processor based. The video, there wasn't a lag in the video, but it was like, this was when Apple, because I had bought it refurbished, it was like 1 or 2 generation processor behind. And this was just when we were getting into multi-core processors. So I think I could probably talk about a metaphor. I was 1 core short of what I needed, like whether it was, or 2 cores short, because it was either dual core and I needed a quad core, or maybe it was a single core and I needed a dual core. I don't think they had more than quad cores back then. Those are just like the brains of the computer, the CPU. And this was when, in school, Apple went back. This was when Apple was still making their own processors. And then for a while they used outside processors, which created a whole nother heyday, which was me kind of getting into Hackintoshing. They thought I was going to talk about air guitar, but holy cow. So I just kept at it until I was eventually, it wouldn't be fun for anybody else to say, hey, let's play this game together. It's pretty much impossible to enjoy because it can't pin down what the problem is, but it's some sort of microsecond delay that causes it to be impossible to accumulate points. And while whatever the delay is consistent, it's also, our human brain is not meant to comprehend it because there's music and there's visuals and there's button pressing. And if you could train your brain to detach all those, you'd have to basically download some sort of program into your brain. Which, that's how I beat, eventually, I could score, whatever the worst score was on that level and get there. And I guess we'll just talk about, we'll do another episode about the Purple Peoples Circus, maybe. Let's just keep on computers for here. Let's just see where this goes, huh? Talk about an untold tale. Or maybe this is maybe this is my own backstory. Well, yeah, let's go with the story. You're right. And maybe we'll talk about computers again. Because maybe that is what happened. This person just happened to happen. So that, let's roll with it. This is live creation. Holy cow. Live bedtime story creation. I've never directly done this, but, in a parallel world, we'll just use the parallel world theory. But maybe in that world, there's a totally different person, look nothing like me, because that'll be easier to tell. There was someone going through this exact same thing. Or maybe, probably in the world, there had to be, I don't know if there was enough of those games sold and enough of those Mac Minis sold. Yeah, there was someone else going through it. And her name was Darlene. And so Darlene was going through the same thing, this, I would say, maddening process of thinking these shiny things of technology were going to fix things or solve things. But Darlene's way of dealing with it was that to set it all aside. For me, I said, what do you mean a car without oil can't run? It runs just like I got no idea what you're talking about. But Darlene was like in just a different place than I was. So Darlene just set everything aside and said, wow, this is very frustrating. Tried it a few more times and did try to research the problem, which was elusive. It was like, it could be that you're just, it could be like some sort of strange processing thing. Or it could be some codec, and, but it's a bit baffling and a bit hard to fix. And even the things I tried to fix, I don't even know if I added a delay somewhere, didn't work. Or maybe I had to try to overclock, who knows. And Darlene even said to herself, like, I'm going to return this game and get my money back, and actually followed through on that. Said, hey, it turns out this is, I thought it said it was compatible with what I have here, but it is not. So I'd like a refund. Now, luckily at the time, Darlene was supporting a local game, like a store. So they said, okay, it's store credit, okay, because we're going to have to sell this refurb. We're going to have to sell this out of the box. And Darlene said, great. Now, Darlene was also someone that was like asking for help. And they said, well, what, again, they said, okay, let's help find you something that's going to work with that. Wow, you're playing games on that. And she said, yeah, actually, I have a couple of controllers, trying to get some emulators running. But but then Darlene's attention didn't, eventually I'm sure that Darlene picked out a new game and stuff. But Darlene was more curious, like, I really liked certain things about that game. And certain things I was anticipating about that game. And in Darlene's world, this was hype air guitar, or peak air guitar. I don't know if you could say it's peak air guitar if it's the first peak, though. Though people maybe from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s might say that, dude, there was other air guitar eras. Maybe there's an air guitar historian. Let's just see what happens. Honestly, I'm just going to search air guitar for podcasts. How do you spell guitar? G-U. Oh, there is one. So there is an official air guitar podcast. And that's weird, though. It didn't come up. Let me just search for air guitar. Okay, well, let's see all shows. There's a lot of stuff that's un-air guitar related that comes up. So there's a podcast niche that does seem to not be well covered. Oh, our friend Hal Lublin's podcast is one of the top ones. Tights and a wrestling podcast from Max Fun. So they must have talked about air guitar on there at some point. So anyway, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, it could be about air guitar. Which is interesting because I guess that's why this is a tale forgotten told. That was eventually one of the things Darlene did try is a podcast, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Because what Darlene did was started she immediately connected some of the feelings of playing air guitar with her memories of what she was anticipating playing Guitar Hero was going to be like, which I'm sure came into the design of a Guitar Hero. And so Darlene just got into playing air guitar for fun, mostly punctuate things. And it became kind of one of Darlene's things that her friends and coworkers would say, I think Keanu in those, what was that movie called? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I think they play a lot of air. So there you go. There's another era of air guitar, the Bill and Ted era of air guitar. But what happened, just to catch, get a little bit of get the story progressing. Darlene also lived in an urban area. We'll just imagine it's San Francisco, even though it was not San Francisco. And Darlene started going out and, like to go for walks and would go through tourist areas and started to notice buskers, or street performers, as they're called in the U.S. But it was also Darlene's memory of being in European cities and seeing buskers, or whatever. That's just what we Americans we say. You know what I mean? We're like Americanizing it, European words. And that was one of the conversations Darlene had. And they said, I'm like, the person was trying to talk to her with one of those like whistles in their mouths, the robot people. Like the shiny, you know what I'm talking about, those shiny robot people, statue people with the Zoom whistle in their mouth. So there's a recommendation. Don't try to have a conversation with them, especially when they're working. And Darlene said, I wonder if there's a room in this world, this wild, wild world of buskers and street performers for an air guitarist. And a lot of people were territorial, and so they would dissuade Darlene not for their own purposes because they didn't know they were doing it, but really they said, well, I find that threatening. But eventually someone's, like a magician, of course, said, you know what I think about is the people that are painting paintings. You don't just see them painting paintings here. You know, sometimes you'll be on the beach and they'll be painting paintings there. And Darlene said, I don't follow. And the magician said, well, that's how I got into street performing magic. Isn't like, because this was around the time of peak street magic, you know. I don't know if they ever called it Blania, but this was early Blania, you know, David Blaine. I think the aughts were when Blania took. I mean, that's when I had Blania for sure. Just in case anybody's wondering. Well, holy cow. But so they said, well, that's how I got the idea to start doing street magic. Wasn't they were like, I do have Blania, just like Scooter was saying. And she said, who's Scooter? And they said, never mind. But they said, what I would do, one time I just saw people doing it, like painting the paintings, right? And then I said, well, maybe I'll just do, I'll practice magic at a park, because there's so many great parks in San Francisco, like Dolores Park. Now, a lot of them, the magician actually went on a tangent and said, not a great park for most magic tricks because it could be because of the unpredictability of the wind. And they said, eventually I had to find parks that were a little bit more, had more tree barriers. But I was also looking for the sun, you know, because, you want to be in the sun where it's warm. And they said eventually, you know, I could find perfect times and perfect parks to do it at. And then people would start watching me because I got better at some of my tricks. And I even, you know, my learning was accelerated by trying to do the tricks in the windy parks too. So it really helped advance some of my close-up magic skills and stuff like that. And certainly gave me confidence. But one thing I noticed was as I started to gather crowds, you know, I would get birthday parties. But eventually people started asking me, you know, if I had a permit and I had to enter the official world of busking. And, you know, that's how I'm here today. And then, yeah, it is territorial. But I think there's some unique advantages you might have to being an air guitarist if it is viable. You know, the first thing would be setting your expectations, but not using your expectations, respecting your expectations too. And Darlene said, what do you mean? And I said, well, of course I would want to be, you know, of course I wish I had, you know, Blania. And, you know, my name's Blarn, so it'd be Blarnia. So I don't think it'd be people would just more say Blarney, but anyway, of course I want to be the next, you know, I want the world swept with Blarnia. So that's an expectation they have to respect, but also say that hasn't happened. Right. So do I want to keep doing magic? out here if that's not going to happen or not. And that's, that's a choice you can make. But at the same time, other than getting the busker permit, there's not everybody likes my magic and not everybody's a fan of mine, and that's fine. But there's not going to be anyone that's going to say, never do magic again, even though I think that. Or if they were to say that, I'd say, I don't know if I could respect the viewpoint of someone that would say that. They'd say, never do magic, you never practice magic again. And I'd say, well, that's impossible. Like, one, magic lives within me. Two, doing magic is practicing magic. Three, there's something once called practical magic, which is different. Four, I work in practical effects, which the place this is only my hobby, by the way, Darlene, which is fine too. But, I love doing this, but I don't love it all the time. But I'm getting better and better and better. You know what I mean? So I don't even know right now as we're talking about it, which is curious, what my expectation is currently. Other than to say, hey, I'd like to get a little bit better at these tricks and learn a new trick for, I'm trying to get into seasonal, make my act a little bit more seasonal. Maybe perform at the Dickens Fair, have some things going, but, and Darlene said, I think I get it. So maybe I should just play air guitar for the love of playing, like dancing like no one's watching almost. And the magician doffed their, top hat, but like a bunch of birds flew out. And they all laughed. And so that's what happened. Darlene started going to parks and playing air guitar while walking, but paying attention. Sometimes music in Darlene's head, then eventually like reasonably set the speaker at a reasonable noise, sometimes with headphones, which would really get people watching and taking pictures. If it was the era of social media, maybe people would have taken pictures or videos of Darlene without Darlene knowing it, and then there could have been a debate around whether this, we could laugh with or people, you know what I mean? But Darlene didn't have to worry about that fact. But with what she had heard from the magician, she probably wouldn't have worried about it anyway. And again, this just happened to be wherever, this was just like the perfect time to be doing it. And Darlene became, only known to us who are sharing this, because this was a tale never told, like one of the foremost air guitarists in the world. And, even using mashups, that was one of the things Darlene did. Because again, then busking, this isn't only ethereal performances. Darlene's not recording any of this. So while it is a little bit of a gray area, but Darlene would be playing mashups, particularly mashups of like Bette Midler with heavy metal, like anything Darlene could find, that had a good guitar, but then playing the hits, and then spending time making set lists and looking for new like mixes or songs, and then starting to realize the world of other air guitarists, and saying, oh, okay, like I can see like whatever classical music with electric guitar is a thing. And also collaborating. So then there was Darlene would do like stuff with Shakespeare or even the magician. So but more for fun, and for the audience's fun. And that was one of the things Darlene did was didn't really take off because this was early podcast era, but did a kind of like a busking podcast. But Darlene just kind of kept at it and kept trying to find new ways. Also, the seasonal idea really worked. So then Darlene would do Halloween style ones, dressed up, and particularly getting a permit and everything, and then doing it in a big city. Was a thing, but also Darlene actually was encouraging the magician to be like, you know what, you're really like a mentor type busker figure. And maybe you could use your practical effects. And what they started was what became known as the Great Unofficial Buskers Parade, which was this was something that was not just in their area, because I think maybe there was like a zine, and maybe this was what their podcast was even about. But it came out of the kind of collaborative process of like, hey, what do we do now? And it did create kind of more tension because there's like collaborative buskers and individual buskers, right? And buskers that kind of they say, this is what I do, this is how I do it. It's very like I'm a statue, like I'm not going to change. I'm a golden statue with a whistle. If I need to paint my clothes again or whatever it is, but that's what I'm going to do. Like, it's working. And I'm this statue. There's two other statues that are different, glitter coats. And people keep talking about somebody coming out with like a pink statue or purple one. I don't know how I feel about it, but that's, I don't need to be like, I got to be, time on my platform, make him, doing my act. But there was also buskers that were down for this. One, because being in a parade is pretty fun, especially a parade of buskers doing their thing. Also, and this took a while, like you can't just explain it, you do have to experience it, which was what they would try to explain to the other buskers, is that really helps your skill set. Juggler, air guitarist, magician, like moving and performing, whatever, person that's juggling on a unicycle, holy cow, trying to be in a parade on a unicycle, singing, and then again, you're singing and air guitaring, and all those things can kind of form something together. And then making it seasonal. Again, there's a couple seasons, but they would make seasons out of the summer. Summer in the city, that's one of the ones they called it. In the city, it's the summer. And we're, doing our thing. And so then what Darlene got into, because again, she did have the freedom to kind of just travel. And now it turns out the air guitaring itself was not super profitable, right? Just because it was easy for people to kind of also do air guitar. Once people realized that Darlene, Darlene wasn't the only one. For a while, she was. But Darlene was on the earlier side of like posting stuff, not just Darlene's air guitar, mostly these parade videos and videos of other buskers, and getting their permission to say, hey, I'm going to monetize this video and, to promote you and say where you are, but I'm going to use the money to kind of, and they said, okay, I'm game for that. And, they had a deal. So then Darlene started like just not like just enough to be able to travel, because Darlene said, well, I think this is what I want to do. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. I love busking. I love most buskers, not all. And the next thing that happened was like Darlene was on a flight and realized like, and again, setting the expectations, but it was like, oh, what about a board game, like Busk Off or something? And Darlene's like, that's interesting, because the whole thing that got this started was Guitar Hero, and I don't think there could be a busking video game, where that's the main thing. I mean, it could be like a Sims thing where you're a busker or street performer. But they said, Darlene said, what do you mean? Like, just talking to somebody on a flight. Now, eventually, what it became was like something a little bit more than that, which was like an immersive game out there in the world, which is more a game for buskers again. But again, this was something that Darlene could get on tape, which was so buskers would, it wasn't, again, this is, 20 years ago or something. So it seems like it, or maybe even 25 years ago. But like what now would be seen as attempts to go viral or whatever. It wasn't Darlene's intention. It was more of like, let's let's travel these places where there's busker parades. And, at a given time, particularly, high traffic tourist times in the tourist areas, at the time when busking wanes off, but there's still audience out there, they would do, this is like how some of the buskers organized. And then some people, again, it wasn't all bread and roses or whatever. But then Darlene got this idea of like, instead of making it a board game, we could make it a board game. And the person was like, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, it can be really boring being a busker. There's a lot of downtime because there's just a couple lulls during the day. And then there's just days that are just unpredictably not busy. Or, it's a tourist season, but all hotels are booked by a conference. And then you got to wait till the conference gets out. And, that's where I've gotten all these wild ideas. But Darlene said again, like something that makes it fun for the buskers that want to participate, but also encourages, like that is for the audience. And she was like, I can film it, but it's more creating local awareness of busking or busking as an opportunity performance, because there's been an increase in, great busking around the world. Maybe that was another podcast she could have started, or maybe she did, great buskers or whatever. But so eventually Darlene started, offering these challenges, and again, like in our current context, it would seem like it was something that it wasn't, but it was like serenade a cat, perform for fishermen. This was in San Francisco. Places where there was arches, like perform something arch related, or make your act fit this, perform on a rainy day, and then again, particularly seasonal stuff, which really did help. Just at those times. But again, the buskers had to relate to like, now we're having these spikes in income, but we had to balance it out the rest of the year. Of like, what is trick or treat? Busk. Now we all do it. Busker treats. Tip and treat. Where merchants have the candy, and it's like trick-or-treating, like a trick-or-treat parade, but that there's buskers, and the busker gives you secret coins when you tip them, or now, I guess it's, and then you could turn those in for even more candy. That was another thing. I don't think that's what it's called. I think that it didn't gain popularity here where I am. That's why I'm misquoting it all. But all these things led up to like Darlene becoming this legend in the community, but really like realizing, like at some point being like, when was the last time I played air guitar, right? And so Darlene kind of let it go. But again, this was kind of like locally community-based, a lot of the activities, and easily copied. So, like, it did, like, even though Darlene kind of stopped doing it, it had developed a life of its own. So it wasn't like she was, like, it was a centralized project. Darlene was just, like, kind of the inspo, and went back. And so this was how, like, it had increased, but Darlene had a little bit of savings, but not a limitless amount. And, the other thing was most people didn't know what Darlene looked like because the camera was always pointed outwards. Like some people did. But Darlene again started performing under a new name. I can't even remember what it was called. Darl? I don't know. But, and so started going and becoming, participating in these other communities as an air guitarist. And again, developed a new level of air guitar love, and then love of fellow buskers and street performers. But what's interesting is eventually Darlene was approached by Purple People's Circus because, like, the reality was they said, we need help with this, what you're good at. And Darlene said, what do you mean? And they said, well, we have this circus of intrigue and we want to keep it intriguing, but we don't know any of this internet type stuff. And you seem to have because they knew who Darlene was, right? And we're not looking to get more attention or lose our intrigue, but we want our, and Darlene said, okay, cool. And this, you're such an inspiration. We'd love to work with you and have you be a part of the Purple People's Circus. And so Darlene joined them, and then they again started working together. There's and that's how now when you see Purple, you do get that great air guitar performance, which is mixed in, which does I think the thing with the air guitar performance is what they helped Darlene realize is usually best as a punctuation. Or whether it's used in a short way or a long way, or in association with other things. And that air guitaring can be a meditative act on your own. But that's not necessarily a long-term performative act. Darlene knew that too. Maybe that's why, so many things developed out of just the air guitar. But yeah, I think that's it. That's one of those tales that just always, whenever I think of air guitar, then I wonder about other stuff. Then I remember, Guitar Hero. Then I forget, and they say, oh no, I forgot about Darlene. One of those people that really did some cool stuff out there. In the air. All right. Good night, everybody. All right. I want to thank everybody who became a patron recently. I want to thank Nicole, Jenny, and Margot. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Matt, Maddie, and Marianne. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Liam, Sam, and Judith Lee. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Elise, Maya, and Audrey. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Emily, Timo, and John. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Lori, LC, and Michelle. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Kelly, Grant, and Spirit. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Anna, Lori, and Deborah. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Kristen, Paul, and Christine. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Anna, Patty, and Steven. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who supports the show directly. That's how we're able to be here. Keeping you company as people support the sponsors or support the show. And the way we come out for free twice a week. That's the way and the way we grow the podcast is by people just spreading the word. Appreciate it. And, I couldn't do it without all of you. And here maybe as a Tuck You In sponsor, that's how we're almost up to 600 episodes in the free archives. Thanks and good night, everybody.